good. Now looking over that way.
Chris Tofalos has been a full-time professional photographer since 1983 and has won top awards at both amateur and professional level. With over 5,000 pictures published in the last 5 years, it is clear that Chris is at the top of his profession. The following short film shows Chris at work and offers a unique insight into his approach to professional photography.
You've been a professional photographer since 1983. What makes a professional photographer?
I think initially it's, no matter how talented you are, it's experience. It's being able to instantly switch on and get the picture that's required straight away.
Do you feel you're still learning?
Absolutely. I think I still buy magazines, I still read articles on equipment and techniques and that sort of thing, and I don't want to stop learning. I think if you think you know it all, you obviously know nothing.
Whereabouts have you been published?
In most of the top national newspapers in the UK, The Guardian, The Observer, The Independent, The Times and The Daily Telegraph. I spent 17 years working for the Evening News in Manchester, glossy magazines, and at one stage I was actually working for a newspaper in Guatemala and one in Israel. So I've been published quite extensively.
How important is good quality equipment?
It's quite important. These days, of course, you can buy a camera with 15 million pixels and you'll get super sharp images. It'll cost a few £100. More expensive lenses, the sort that you see at football matches where you know, you've got these giant white lenses, you're into thousands of pounds. It's one of the problems to the pay peanuts, get monkeys business is that anybody can buy a camera these days and aspire to be a professional. Now, if I was lucky enough to have the money to go out and buy a Formula One car, that doesn't mean to say that I will be lapping Lewis Hamilton next week. And it's the same with photography. Experience counts, and I don't think there's any way you can short-circuit that. No pun intended.
Tell me about the horse at Standish.
I was finishing a shoot for Lancashire magazine on Standish. I was on Harbour Lane. The sun was setting. I noticed a gap in the fence, and these two girls arrived on horseback. And I asked them to ride up and down in front of the gate, and I lay on the ground until I got the shot that I wanted. And as I finished, a passing motorist stopped his car and he opened the window and he looked down at me. He thought I'd actually been knocked down. It was quite amusing.
Southport Open Golf Championship 2007.
Yes, there must have been a couple of hundred photographers there. And when the event was over and Patrick Harrington had won, he went over to a pack of photographers. There were well over 100 photographers gathered in a sort of semicircle, and he posed in front of them with his trophy. I worked for a small agency. Big agencies such as Reuters and Getty and Press Association had it all sewn up. So I had to produce something really different if I wanted to get published. So I stood to the side and I got a few interesting shots because the lighting was quite good. But then the winner came back away from the pack of photographers towards me. And out of the crowd, his young son ran towards him to congratulate him. And he picked up his son and celebrated right in front of me. And I ended up with one which ended up as the main picture on the front page of the Daily Telegraph. Needless to say, I was very pleased.
Which celebrities have you photographed over the years?
Quite a few. I think the ones that come to mind straight away in terms of a good picture would be a recent one this year of Marco Pierre White. Despite his reputation, very charming chap to work with. Sir Terence Conran, who founded Habitat. He was very open and free in posing for the pictures, and I got some nice pictures of him. I've got quite a good one of Prince Charles, and he was at a school in Nelson, Lancashire, shaking hands with the school children, and you will see this picture where a hand comes in to shake Prince Charles's hand and it's covered in mud. You can't see Prince Charles's face, but he's sort of pointing with his hand and saying, "You want me to shake that?" You can almost read that into it.
A good professional photographer must have the ability to be able to take quality photographs under any circumstances and on any occasion. With over 30 years' experience as a professional photographer, Chris demonstrates his abilities on a recent commission with glamorous Clayton Lamore's funeral director, Leanna Champ.
Looks really good.
One of the most challenging little jobs I had. The location was a narrow room full of tins of ink and so untidy it wasn't true. But within half an hour, we'd moved all the ink, piled up into neat little stacks, all the labels turned around the right way. There was just enough width in the room to get one light with an umbrella to the left of the subject, and I put another light behind the tins of ink. We ended up with something that looked like it had been shot in a studio. And the guy was so pleased. He said, "You've actually given my job some credibility."
Tell me about the Fringe meeting at the TUC conference 2010.
During the lunch hour, they had various Fringe meetings at little rooms and tents and that sort of thing. And they'd very thoughtfully blacked out the ceiling completely. So the illumination was from daylight coming through the white sides of the tent. I fired away a few shots while the speakers were in action, but when it was over, I decided to ask them to pose for me, and it had to be done very quickly because they wanted to get back to the conference. I'd asked these two chaps. One was John Hendy, the human rights lawyer, and Tony Woodall of Unite the Union. Posed them very, very quickly in front of two rather narrow backgrounds. Well, the finished results looked like they'd been done in the studio. Given the amount of time that I had to do it, you wouldn't guess that from looking at the finished results.
Thank you. Okay, again. And again. Really dramatic. I'm really pleased with that one.
Oh, they're brilliant.
That is a wrap.